Good afternoon. Welcome back. If you came to church this morning or last night, this is the 2-for-1 weekend where you got to put in two and only counts for one. But a week ago, it was November 1st on Saturday, so we got the 2-for-1 free ride on the holy day. So it all works out kind of even eventually. We have to acknowledge the trivia night people. Would you like to stand and take a bow or anything? Mary Ellen, you sure could. Maybe you should stand. Trivia night people, yeah, they bought this screen. Well, I personally like the PVC plastic sheet screen better. And the two guys on the holy acolytes holding it on the ends, I always like to watch them move the screen forward and back, trying to get it. And I always worried about them starting it on fire with the candle behind it. But none of that ever happened. So far, so good. In your missalette in the back is a little campaign prayer. If you don't have one, raise your hand, we'll get you one. We, again, a little background. We've been at this for quite a while, actually, trying to get our planning put together for taking the next step of what we need at St. John's. So, no, they're in the back. Look at another book. Anybody need one? There you go, you can have mine. Somebody told me they took them home to pray them at home. I'm like, yeah, now we're talking. All right. Thank you. Again, this is a house of prayer. I mean, I was thinking about it today while we were preaching away. It happens to be the gospel where Jesus cleanses the temple on the feast of this church in Rome. If you've had a chance to visit Rome, you really need to put it on your list. It's an incredible place. And it was dedicated today, 324 AD, gifted to the church by a guy named Constantine, and became this kind of reminder that all the churches in the entire universe are connected and tied to the church that Jesus founded when he rose from the dead and breathed his spirit into this church. And St. John's is connected to that place. So this is a house of prayer. Let's begin with this campaign prayer. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Lord, Jesus, Son of the eternal Father. Pray for us. Saint Joseph, pray for us. John the Apostle, pray for us. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Again, welcome. The point of our gathering is to let you know what we know, and just where we are to date on our plans going forward. So I meet with the RCIA people every Monday night, and we have a tour of the church, and it includes a little brief history of St. John's. And St. John's was a cornfield in December 27, 1958, when they bought it. 9 acres. This is my favorite number in my head. I can't get it out. They got 9 acres for $13,999. So was that a good deal at the time? Anybody know? How much is an acre of land in location? And we were laughing. Bob Rule has pictures of the first pastor here, Father Hellman. He was also a guy that ran the register. And if you were doing diocesan level work, like running the register. They tried to pat you on the back by giving you a parish like St. John's. That way they could keep him doing the register and get a little more work out of him as pastor at St. John's. And it was just a handful of folks. So a year later, they built the church, and they had the first mass here in that first quadrant of the school pods on December 25th, 1959. But the pews weren't quite done yet, so they sat on bales of hay just for ambiance. Very nice. But I just think about those years of where we've been and how we've kind of grown as a parish, and kind of humble beginnings, but God has really holy, important, sacred work for St. John's to do as we go forward. So the other number I like is, because it was a new parish, they had a system in those days where the parishes that were already here, the one I grew up in, Sacred Heart, to the west, and St. Pat's to the north, and they made them cough up $25,000 each for a dowry for St. John's to get started. When I mentioned that one time to Troy Swagger, he said, "We want our money back." And I said, yeah, we'll get that over to you. So that's where we came from. Father Joe and the parish community of St. John's in 1980 built this. You know the rest of the story, the social hall, the gym, the junior high. And now, full circle, we've renovated all those spaces that we built in 1958, 59. Those classrooms are the heart of what we do at St. John's. So this campaign, big brush strokes here, it has just two pieces. One, to kind of cherish our legacy. This is our part of the church. These are our kids in our school. This is the work of Christ, to teach as Christ taught. And we're locked in on it. So in the name of those kids and the identity we have as a parish with a school attached, I want to thank you for your part in it over the years. The next part is this kind of reminder that we're going to try to build on it. We have plans to go forward with new construction. You're under the new roof. It's already up and paid for. The new lights are up and paid for. Renovation of the pods in the classrooms, 12 of our classrooms, all redone, paid for. Now we have to look into the future and take this next step about a Parish Center. We have the folks who know all about it do the speaking today, but we want to make sure you understand. We want you to speak and let us hear your voice and your thoughts and your questions, anything we can help you understand as we go forward, as we tell you everything we know as we know it. There's some unknowns yet, of course, in the details. There's not a contract signed. To date, we have Kevin Clark as our architect and Brester as our contractor, who did the office addition and the priest's house in 2008. And Kevin was also involved in renovating the interior of our church in 2004. So now he's old, and he's back to do our next little piece. All right, I'm going to yield here to who's speaking next. Need a microphone? Want this one?
Maybe. Hello, can you hear me? Okay.
Hello.
All right, everybody. We have a presentation for you today. Called this our Parish Town Hall, and it's got kind of two parts to it. First one is going to be our financial update for everybody about kind of how things are going, and Steve Peregrine's here. Then we'll, oh, sorry. And then we'll also talk about the parish hall that we're looking to build here in the next year or two. Yeah. Well, know about 90% of the people here, it looks like. Todd Farasik, I was baptized here, so I'm very proud of that. Along with me, though, more importantly, we have a team of people that have put a ton of work into this. And so I want to, first of all, acknowledge all of them. You have members of the Parish Finance Committee and Parish Facilities Committee who've all worked on both aspects of this presentation today. So if you're on that in one of those groups, please stand up so you can be recognized, because I want everybody to know who's putting in the hours to really work on all this. So. Button right there. Okay. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. Here's kind of our agenda for the afternoon, and we really promise to try to keep this to about an hour. But we'll give you we'll have Steve come down and give you our parish financial update. We'll talk about the capital campaign, background, campaign numbers, and then the two different phases of the campaign, what we call Cherish Our Home phase, which was the maintenance phase, Grow Our Legacy phase, which is the new Parish Center. So Father touched on some of these things in his opening, but we'll kind of go into a little more depth with some of that. All right, Steve Peregrine, here you go.
Thank you, Todd. My wife taught Todd, so we've had connections here. Moved to the parish in early 1990s. So, which one are we doing down? Oh, okay. Okay, we just got a couple of quick charts. What I really wanted to show was our trend lines, I guess I'm calling them. So the caption on this one really is increase from the period 2022 through projected 2025. Income has increased by less than 6%, and our expenses have increased by more than 21%. So that's not a very good trend line, and this reflects what's really called ordinary income. So it takes out special projects, the campaign, of course. So this kind of boils down to the Sunday giving and some of the other fundraisers that are routine throughout the year. So that's an issue that needs to be thought about, everybody, in terms of your amount of giving and everything that we're trying to keep the parish running well. And of course, the main program for the parish is to support the school and educate the kids. And so that's what we wanted to show you too, is that the parish transfers to the school every year an amount that is budgeted based upon salaries, and we've increased teacher salaries consistently for ever since I've been on the finance committee, which is quite a while. So obviously the school's essential to our parish missions, and we provide the financial support for that. So in the past 4 years, that transfer has increased by about 14%, which again reflects really the increase in teacher salary, which makes up the biggest portion of the school's budget is personnel salaries and our good teachers. So, and then I wanted to show of that transfer to school kind of the share of how it relates to expenses and income. So you can see that the trend line again is kind of up and down a little bit, but basically the percent of income went down a little bit from 22 to 23, and part of that we were still benefiting from some of the funds that we actually got through the whole COVID funding that was available to about anybody and everybody that made any effort to get some. And I know Todd was very responsible from working with Union Bank and helping the church get one of what they call the PPP loans. So when that kind of went away, we can see that the percent of income that goes to the transfer has increased. So those are just some quick pictures of the financial status that we're in right now, and it's, it's going to lead us to think about how we need to try to reach into our pocketbooks a little bit more and work on our Sunday giving and use the tools that are available, particularly the automatic withdrawals. You can set up that way if you're gone for a couple of weeks during the summer, you're not here to hand out an envelope. Well, the money's going to the church anyway, so I think that's a good way to keep the support going. So, do we want to take any? Does anybody have any questions about these big picture numbers? Good.
I told myself I wasn't going to talk anymore, but I changed my mind. One of the things that we are actively kind of promoting is an increased sort of sense of stewardship in the parish, not just in terms of money, but in terms of involvement and engagement with the different organizations and stuff we have. So the month of November is always this month where we kind of invite people to think again, how do I want to be more involved or continue to be involved in the organizations and different pieces of the pie going forward. And it will include, of course, a decision about their time, talent, treasure piece of stewardship. The Sunday giving is the heart of the deal. Sunday giving has to go up. The cost goes up. And that's just a continual responsibility of a parish community to be the good stewards that support what we do here. So we have a stewardship committee that's involved and engaged, and we're trying to continue to do that outreach work and that education work that helps us all remember the costs go up as the years go up. And as the costs go up, the collection needs to go up. So it makes no sense to build a new parish center if Sunday giving doesn't go up along with it to take care of it once it's up. So those things have to be kind of talked about and dovetailed as we go forward. So in the parish, and Steve and the Finance Committee, we talk about it every month. Third Saturday of the month, come join us at 7 a.m. It's kind of a somber group, but we talk about money and Sunday giving and money, and particularly the school side of our expenses. It's our priority and our mission. Questions about any of that? Question was about what's the trending of the parish census. We've done a number of demographic studies over the years that I've been here, and we've always anticipated an increase, quite a significant increase in our population, but it's really been flatter than anything. Yeah, second question. Trending downward, that's another concern of ours because the cost for sending a kid to Catholic schools, Tony can sure speak to this in detail, but the costs have impacted our school enrollment, and so that's another very important priority of ours, to continue to make Catholic school education available to every kid in this parish forever. This new federal policy of tuition tax credit that's going to kick in January of 2027 will entitle people anywhere in the United States, and our governor signed on to it, to get a tuition tax credit. Is it $1,700 per kid, Tony? Yeah. To be determined. Well, for a place like ours, that could make a significant difference to people's ability to send their kid to Catholic school if they choose to. Good questions. Jack?
The increase in age of the population, or the numbers of single-family elderly people, and the drop in the number of kids. So it's okay to have finances for 2 or 3 years, but what is it like going back 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years to show this demographic changes with the increase in population but the declining numbers of Catholics? So what does that bode for about need for facilities and increased space and things like that.
Yeah, so if it turns into St. Mary's downtown and half the people are rentals and three-fourths of the people are 70 years old and older, it'd be different. But in this part of town and in the housing that we have around us, we expect it to continue to have that influx of kids. Even though families are smaller, we don't have any way of knowing exactly how many people will choose St. John's, but this is a part of town that we consider residential, and therefore, at least in some kind of number, pretty consistently kids available to come to our Catholic school. It's another one of those demographic, I don't know yet because it's not measurable yet.
From 2000 to 2020, the diocesan population grew up to like 721,000. It grew 21%. But the Catholic population only grew by 6.7%.
Right.
Now, granted, in Lincoln, probably we're going to have a higher percentage than more in the rural area growth, but still, that's an awful small percentage. So, of those 2,000 residences built east of 84th Street in our parish boundary from the year 2000, it seems to me we're not getting much of that Catholic population coming to the church, especially the younger people. And my neighborhood completely turned over since I bought there 15 years ago.
Right.
And we've got some young Catholic families in there now. But if we're not growing otherwise or doing something to get the younger people, what does that look like for what our facilities are going to be, or maybe what our priorities should be in the church for the next 5 to 10 years?
Again, the facility is not just for the school. The facility is for the whole parish. So it'll get used by the rest of the parish in all kinds of ways, particularly funeral dinners and our marriage folks that don't have a place really to have a reception. So those things will get used by some part of our parish, but the school is the big piece. Anybody on that committee want to speak to that? We don't know the answer to your question about how the demographic line mix will look like going forward, but we'd like to think the facility will draw kids to our school. And I'm kind of almost can't believe it. The state of Nebraska passed the tuition tax credit bill and then promptly removed it by putting it on the ballot, and got some really bad misrepresentation of the facts from lobbyists from different groups. And so it got put into law and then removed from our law. So I'm very happy about the federal piece that looks like it kicks in January 2027. Tony, anything? I anticipated being significant. All right, onward. Thank you. Thank you, Jack.
Jack, just
Mike,
to
thank
follow
you.
up a little bit on your questions, because that's a really good question. Because we talked a lot about what are we going to do with this facility, and I think that was, a big task that we all went around and kind of talked about. Yeah, we're looking at adding on, but this building, the current social hall, the meeting rooms, everything that's here now is used all the time. I mean, it's really, it's occupied a lot, and there's a lot of groups that are using it to kind of get people back in touch with their faith. I know Mr. Hayden's sitting here, and he's part of the young men's group that I know is really taken off, and they're trying to do things to get the younger men more connected with their parish. I know that we have a young moms group. And, having these facilities, having an adoration chapel, all those things are going to be a big, important part of how we try to get people back into church. You talk about, the school number, I think it's like 267 this year, or 260, 270 in that area. I'm also involved over at Pius, and I know that's their enrollment is something that they're concerned about because, They're watching when kids enter preschool, because that's how they can then predict how many kids they're going to have even that many years out coming to Pius. And they're seeing, some decline, some volatility in their numbers. I don't have the exact number that Pius has enrolled right now, but I know they're watching that as well. So a couple of things that, really lead into why we're doing this campaign and what we've learned along the way. Next thing I wanted to tell you is one of the things that when I was growing up that my folks who are sitting here, Rich and Diane, taught me is to give back to St. John's. And what would happen is in the summertime, some of you have heard this story, so don't throw a shoe at me, but what would happen in the summertime is Father Joe would call over to the house, and my dad would answer the phone, and he'd say, I need a server for a funeral this afternoon at 2. And this is like on a Tuesday or Wednesday afternoon in the summer. I really didn't want to come over here to St. John's and be a server for a funeral, but I didn't have a choice. I was voluntold that I had to come and be a server, and I think we got $5 back then. So he'd call, and my dad would say, yeah, Father, he'll be there. No problem. Yep, he'll be there. And then I'd be like, okay, so can I get a ride over to St. John's? And he'd be like, no, ride your bike. So I guess what I'm going with that is Mom and Dad really tried to get us kids to get involved. Over at St. John's, they always wanted us to give back. And I see, like I said, everybody sitting in these pews today are the people that are so supportive. Every one of you. I mean, I know almost every one of you by name. So what I would encourage you to do is do that to somebody. Take what you learned today out and talk to 10 people, because I was hoping that this whole church would be full today so we can tell about what we're doing. And there's going to be some numbers in here that'll help show you how many people participated in this campaign. But really, take it upon yourself. Talk to people that are in this parish, people that aren't here, people that couldn't make it, and tell them about this. If you're excited, help them get excited about it. Help them get behind it. Help them learn that, the numbers that Steve gave you, to be honest, scare the heck out of me as a parish financial and the parish finance committee, because I see expenses are going up here just like they are for all of you in your families and your household. And so we got to remember that. And we got to make sure and tell people, because they don't know that they need to increase their giving or give back in another way unless we talk to them about it. So anyways, so we'll go ahead and get started now with the campaign update. This is kind of what we're kind of getting excited about as both of these groups come together. So the first slide here, and by the way, Mike Barron put this slideshow together. He did a fantastic job. So I want to make sure he gets credit for this wonderful work. But here we go with the capital campaign timeline. What Mike's trying to show here is kind of when we got started talking about doing this campaign. We started with the strategic plan done parish-wide, and through that, we found out that there was a desire for additional meeting and fellowship space, and probably the best thing about this plan right now is the Adoration Chapel, and we'll kind of show you some renderings and pictures as we move on. The summer of 2023, we did the survey for the feasibility study and kind of talked to the parish about what we wanted to do and how we thought we could accomplish it. We had another pre-campaign town hall meeting and sought feedback on the capital campaign and plan for the project. And then in November and December of 2023, we launched the capital campaign, collected pledges for 3 years, and came up with the 2 uses of those funds for the maintenance portion, which we're going to talk about here in a second, and then the potential for a new parish center. Here's the results of our feasibility study. Maintenance projects, that's pretty easy. That's kind of what you do every day at your own homes. You're fixing your roof, we did that. You're fixing your lights, we did that. We increased, the wall, or we replaced the walls in the school for better insulation factors. That's the easy part of it. We were 99% positive on all that maintenance that we wanted to do through the feasibility study. The new Parish Center, you can see the results there. We had 73% positive on doing the new Parish Center, 6% negative, and 21% neutral. And I think a lot of what you see in the negative and neutral probably comes from we didn't have a lot of information. We didn't know exactly what we could do. We didn't know where it was going to go. There was a lot of questions, but we knew that, number one, safety of our kids at school, to me, is the number one concern and the number one reason that this Parish Center is an important concept that we're doing. Yeah. Yeah, so the biggest thing, Mr. Hayden asked, why is safety so important when we're talking about the Parish Center and so forth? Yes, yep. How does the new addition address the safety of our children? So right now, it mostly has to do with just people getting into the school for reasons, like let's just say a funeral were to come at 10 o'clock on a Wednesday. They come in here, we have the funeral, and then if it's snowing, raining, or probably not even that, we open up the doors to our school and we bring all the people from the funeral in through our school down to the existing social hall. And so, with things as they happen today, bad things that we don't like to talk about, that is the reason putting a parish hall closer to this church, and then having a series of lockable doors and security features to keep basically the church and the social hall separate when they need to be. That's probably the biggest security that we see. So, any other questions about security before we go?
Still going to try to shut up, but I want to make sure you understand the biggest piece of our social hall issue is it's about a half mile from here, and it's too small. And so to get to it, we have to go through our school, which we don't want to do. We didn't have a choice. The social hall was built, tacked onto that junior high addition, and that was all we had at the time, and it served us well. It gets used a ton, as you know, and now we have a classroom in it during the week, but it's in the wrong place, and it's not big enough. And there isn't a way to make it secure for the school. Questions? Sorry, I'm not going to talk anymore.
All right, we'll have Father. After this slide, we'll have Father again. Okay, capital campaign, here's the status as of 10/31/25. Getting back to a little bit of your comments, Jack, we had 1,351 families registered in the parish, and the number of families that pledged were 544, so only 40% of the families pledged to our capital campaign. That's any dollar amount. As a group, we talked a lot about that, like how do we get more people involved? How do we get more people to give to this campaign? Again, I'm going to ask those of you here, if you hear somebody wanting to know about it, make sure and ask them that too. We'd love to get another pledge or two just, from people out talking about what we're doing. The average pledge there was $5,406. We had total pledges of $2.94 million. We're doing really well on the number of pledges we've received, 2.186. We have about 754,606 pledges that we're still working to collect. And then we've had other gifts and fundraisers of 454,768. So total project that we've raised so far is $3.395 million of the 544 pledges. Sound good? Okay, we've already touched on a lot of this, so I'll move really quick through this. These are the 2 phases of the campaign, so the Cherish Our Home and Grow Our Legacy. Cherish Our Home, that's done. Those are the things that we've already done so far. Father touched on it, I've touched on it. We've replaced the roofs that we've redone on the school wings, replaced the lighting in here with new LED lights that are much more efficient. We've upgraded our electrical service to get ready for all these future plans that we have for the school and church. We've also brought some power into the actual rooms. Tony, some of those rooms had 1 or 2 outlets. 2 outlets. So, when those were built, that's what you needed. Now with iPads and all the other stuff that they're using, we brought in 3 or 4 other additional plugs into the school.
No, you just get those power strip things.
Yeah.
Plug
Those are safe.
Yeah, you can plug 12 things in there.
Again, my dad was a firefighter. That didn't fly at our house, but I know we had to do that here a few times. We also have an artificial tree, not a real tree. It's going up right now. So we upgraded our electrical service to be able to handle what we plan to do and what we already have. And then we redid, in 12 classrooms, we redid those window banks that were just basically single pane windows, super cold in the winter, super hot in the summer. But we insulated those, framed them out, put in double pane or triple pane windows, and so those are all done throughout the school now so far. Grow Our Legacy, that's what we're calling the campaign portion for our new Parish Center. In case many of you don't know, the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning unit that sits on the side of this church is 20 plus years old, maybe 25. Where's Chris Crackmeyer? How many years? 03. So 23-year-old heating, ventilation, and air conditioning system. We're on borrowed time with that. Chris, I want to also publicly acknowledge him. He spends a ton of time working on that thing, like all the time for every, you can just about guarantee that if there's going to be a wedding, he's going to have to be here putting a hose on that unit to keep it cool and make it work. So he does a ton of work to maintain what we have, and we've really tried to just nurse that along to make sure that we can get through to this phase that's coming up. Building of the new social hall, provide additional meeting space. You're going to see some of that in some of the renderings we have. And then I think probably the second most important thing that we would do in this project next to security for our kids is that new Adoration Chapel that we've been talking about and looking at. Anybody have any questions yet as we're kind of moving through this about the campaigns or where we've been? Okay. All right. We are done with this phase, like I said, the Cherish Our Home. When we started talking about this, we set aside about $1.5 million for the roof, the lighting, the walls. Came in under budget, $1,111,000, so we had a nice savings there, as you can see. We got the new lights done pretty quickly, and then we've talked about all this, but it shows you when we did. We did the lights first, electrical service, and then this year we did the 3 walls in the schools for the 12 classrooms. So glad to have that behind us. I would say that went off really, really well. We found a really good contractor that was ahead of schedule, did all of it. We got a really good price on that through him, and that makes up most of the savings that you saw there. Here's some pictures as the walls were framed in. If you look at the one on the left here, all that insulation that's there, or the kind of the brownish red around the windows, that would have been all windows in the old building. And so we were able to frame that, insulate it, and now we have drywall. I see Mrs. Hayden's here. How do you like the rooms now that they've been 100% done? Yeah, they stay a lot warmer, they look a lot cleaner, and I think everybody really loves them. One of the things that we were able to do, because we saved a ton of money on the construction, is we have a parishioner who was very generous and helped us build new shelving and cabinets in all the rooms. So It looks really nice. If you want to see it, get a hold of one of us and we'll walk you down there. You can see it, but the rooms look fantastic, and I think not only the teachers, but more importantly, the kids love it too. The Grow Our Legacy, this is the portion of the campaign that's still in progress. We don't really know when it will be completed or started, but we're on a path to get this going. Father talked about it already. We hired Clark Architects Collaborative 3. We have Mr. Kevin Clark with us here. He's helping us plan all this. We're not just drawing it out on a napkin. We actually have a real architect that's helping us do all this and has been a tremendous help. We met with 3. We started with 4. We met with 3 contractors and did an RFP process. And we landed on Brester Construction. One thing that's important to note is the diocese has a building process. So if you want to build something in this diocese, you have to do things right, and you have to do things their way. And we followed those requirements. And when we start doing construction, the process that we use is called a builder at risk, construction manager at risk, and that's the common term in the construction industry. But that gives us a price where we selected Brester based on their percentage of markup, and then they give us a gross maximum price, and we move forward, and we know what we can build with the money that we have based on their pricing. Of course, this is pending final design and contractor estimates. None of that's been done. We're already started with the design, and then we're targeting a groundbreaking for the summer of 2026. So right around the corner, and with where we're at in the timeline, believe it or not, being November, we are aggressive, I would say, or right on schedule for a summer of 2026 groundbreaking. If everything goes correctly, we would be right on time. So we're not too early. We didn't leave ourselves a whole lot of time. This is falling perfectly in line with kind of how construction works, and Kevin's can talk about that a little bit more. Here's our budget for the new Parish Center. We have about $1.8 million from the parish campaign and additional pledges. We have $454,000 of other gifts and fundraisers, which are dedicated to the new social hall. We have $480,000 of previously designated gifts. So over the years that I've been on the finance committee, our parishioners would give money, set aside money for the social hall. And so that's been kept in a savings account over at the diocese. And so we have another $480,000 of funds that were given in previous years. And then we're planning on raising an additional $300,000 to $600,000 from the Pious campaign if we hit our goals. So we're estimating that this project will cost us between $3 and $3.3 million, and that's how we plan to fund it. In the interim, we may need to take out we're hoping smaller loan from the diocese to fund collection of our pledges until those come in, but we're hoping that maybe with the Pious campaign and some other things that we don't have to do that. So, yeah, you haven't heard of it at all? Well, maybe I haven't heard it, but I don't know what's going on. Yeah, okay. Pardon? Yeah, so what is your first name? I'm sorry. Mike is asking, he wanted to just know a little bit more about the Pious campaign. He said he hadn't heard about it, and you're going to. And it's starting today, you're going to start hearing about it. So Pious is doing a major campaign for the school. Main uses there are to expand their chapel, to redesign and basically rebuild the LPAC, the Learning and Performing. It's already started. They're actually going to start construction on the LPAC because the silent phase raised enough money to just do the LPAC. So they've kind of broke it into 2 portions. Along with that, they're also increasing, they're redoing some of the sports facilities, locker rooms. Trying to think of, is there anything else? Oh, weight rooms, practice space, the theater, the LPAC. So I think it's about a $30 million campaign that they're doing over at Pius. And we'll be happy to get you, we have some brochures in the back already, ready to go. So what happens is when we are given our goal from Pius, we raise up to our goal and we receive a kickback from Pius on the money we raise up to our goal. It's about
18 cents on the dollar.
18 cents, 18 to 20 cents on the dollar. Once we hit our goal, anything we raise over that, we get 90% back. They keep 10. So
Goal's
that's how-
1.2 for St. John's.
Okay. Any other questions about Pius? Yes.
On the previous slide, we talked about a budget for the project for free of $3.3 million. What's left over from the first fundraiser that was used for the maintenance portion of that? Is there any funds left over from?
Yeah, it's about 300,000, give or take. And that's in the 1.8. Okay, we've touched on a bunch of these, so I'll move quick through what we're looking for the project here. Enhanced security system and controls, we talked about that, the safety of our kids. Church HVAC replacement, that's got to happen whether or not we build this thing or not. We hope that we can wait that long. New parish social hall, we think to accommodate a parish of our size, it needs to seat 300 to 350 people. What does our current social hall seat comfortably? 150. So it would be roughly a little bigger than double the size of our current social hall. Closer to existing parking, closer to the church. We'd love it to have a commercial grade kitchen, expanded restrooms outside of what are right outside these doors, additional meeting space, and we can kind of show you that in a diagram here in a few minutes, and then the Adoration Chapel we've been talking about. Yes, Mrs. Wallingford. The 300 to 350 would be just the social hall, and if you had a larger event or a larger need and you could make it work, there are some additional meeting spaces that are planned, and you could put more seating, more prep. You could utilize those as part of it as well. It's about double. Kevin did a nice illustration for our group of that work on the facilities, and we took our gym and roughly put it inside of the new social hall diagram, and it's about the same size or a little bit bigger. So about 87% of the gym, if you can figure about 90% of our gym would be the size of the social hall. So
You'll see it in a minute if you wait. There's a little layout of the footprint. You'll see it. Hold on a minute.
Here we go. Now I'm done. Thank goodness. And here's Kevin Clark, our architect, to talk to you about the design.
Who are you and where did you grow up?
Great question. I grew up on Terrace Road from 72 to 81. First communion and confirmation was here, not baptized like Todd, but many, many great years in this neighborhood and have watched it grow. And some of the comments about, where we at in this curve that parishes and neighborhoods go through of, lots of young families, and then it starts to dip down, and then we have, more, in the school. We won't ever see a perfect trend line that's balanced. It will always be a sine curve. The new families move in, they have kids, the kids grow up. So when I moved onto our block that we live on today, there were 47 kids under driving age. Now there's 12. And I'm not planning on moving, for another 20 years. So even our street or our block has gone through this kind of curve. So it's very natural. And it really makes a neighborhood rich because it's not all the same age people. And it makes a parish a great place to be because you have this huge range of people. So we came back in 23 and updated a master plan that had been thought about a few years earlier when we were doing the office addition in the rectory. Because at that point, they were saying, our parish hall is a little small. Having been to your fish fry before, I spent more time at your fish fry standing outside waiting to get in than I ever did eating fish. So you've had a parish hall that served you extremely well, but when we talked to parish groups, often we heard something bigger would be helpful. We have a lot of events that space cannot completely serve. Oftentimes we'll use the gym, but then that group is split up. And the location of those two elements, the gym and the social hall, being kind of on back of house in our backyard, was mentioned as not being ideal. That it'd be great if we could come out of Mass, we could smell the coffee, we could be in coffee and rolls without having to go outside, down the hill to the other space. So location of a new parish hall space. When we had those input sessions, we heard many people say, if we had a more accessible adoration chapel, so a place where we could lock it off at night but still allow access, that would be of interest. When we met with the teachers, some additional classroom space was needed, despite the fact that you see the trend that maybe our student count is in kind of a downward cycle. We know it will come back up. It always has. We have even those class sizes have gotten a little smaller, but we still have that number of classes. And so some additional classroom spaces. So the idea started to develop is if we had a new parish hall, the existing parish hall could be repurposed for school functions, and it's a perfect location because it's right on the hallway with all of the rest of the classrooms. And then we would look for a new home for the parish hall. And I can easily say we tried every possible location on this lot, moving it all over. We even put it out into the old rectory location, out on the edge. Tried every possible solution, and we believe we've come to a good one. I would say it's not potentially the final one, because we're just at the beginning of the design phase. We will continue to study this over the next months, but the goal was to have a parish hall that was bigger than the existing, was located closer to the parking lot, and then would allow access to it without us walking through the school. So the site is in, let's go to the next one, is in the courtyard, that front that faces Vine Street that we enter in as we go to the school.
It's on the Cronin's flower plot.
Sorry about that, Cronin's. But we will move the flowers to a new good location. So as you look at that right now, this is the entrance to the school. Here's that courtyard space. Here's all of our parking along Vine, and then Vine Street at the top of that drawing. So if we filled that courtyard space, we'd have access to both of the parking areas. The blue would be the parish hall space, so seating goal of about 350. The red would be additional meeting space on grade, close to the parking lot, not within the school proper, so that the school can continue to operate and we can have meetings outside of the school area. The orange then is the new commercial kitchen, and then we'll zoom in here again. But that we're looking then, and we're standing right here, right now, in the church. So it would start to wrap the original church facade with this new addition. Parking and flow would still remain along the north side. So zooming in a little bit more, we'll be able to occupy it for both school activities and parish activities, and then still keep all of the flow separate and safe for either group. Yes?
So when the Knights are having their breakfast during Mass on Sundays, how much noise from the social hall will be acceptable to hear during Mass?
I don't have the mathematical answer for that. His question was, now all of a sudden if the parish hall is having a really exciting out-of-control Knights of Columbus event with loud music and, and everything else that they're typical of, will we hear it in here? The goal would be no. These walls are concrete block. We're going to have an air space. We're going to have a new concrete block wall to provide not only a sound separation, but also a 2-hour fire separation. This will be conceived as a separate building as far as building codes. So we can do the study and we'll have the engineer look at, okay, how, is it possible to move sound between, but separate footings, separate walls, and an air space get us a long way for stopping the sound.
And again, Mike, it's hard to just have you see it, but it's all a lockdown door system too. So this will be closed off from that, and it'll be closed off from this.
There was a question back there.
So to develop a perspective, the new facility, the north end of that, the north side of it, is it in where the sidewalk, the current sidewalk is now? The road
What's the question?
So his question was, how far north are we going? In this drawing, we are going within 5 feet of the existing curb line, building side curb line. So the parking and the flow along that north side would still remain the same. It will be a big change. So I've driven and walked and rode my bike up and down Vine Street a lot in my few years of life. And this will be a big change to Vine Street. The trees that are along this north side would come out to make this addition, and it will put people space out towards Vine Street. So right now, as you drive along Vine, you really don't see anybody in our church. In our office space, in the school space, there's no real view of the excitement and the great things that are going on here. This will now put windows into the parish hall and this large meeting room right out towards Vine so that people will see events going on. I see that as a positive. It will put the Adoration Chapel on that corner as well, here in the purple area. So all of those people spaces, day and night, are being put out at the edge to be a sign and to advertise the great things that are going on inside. Yes? Perfect. Okay, so her question was, where's all the storage? Because you're committed not to throw anything away when we go do this new addition. So we're going to move everything that you have into the new space, and we're going to throw a few things away. That was tongue-in-cheek, too. Knights of Columbus are going to throw a bunch of stuff away. The Altar Society won't. We can make this work. So starting with the chairs and tables, because we know that we're going to have them, the chair and table storage for all of these seats, so these are folding tables and folding chairs. They would come into this gray space here that's on the edge of the church. So all of this comes here and comes down. There is additional storage here, close to the meeting rooms. So we haven't laid out whose would be whose, but I think that space would be Great for Knights of Columbus because it's right close to that large meeting room. We also have a large storage room behind the kitchen here. The kitchen has a cooler and a dry storage pantry as part of it. So the goal being that the majority of their storage would be here. This would be parish storage, chair and table storage, and then additional storage, parish storage here. The meeting room right now has a small sort of kitchenette, catering counter, sink, under-counter fridge type of space, and then a restroom right next to the Adoration Chapel. And then this gray rectangle, you can kind of remember, you've been to this restroom before. We'd have a whole new restroom, 4 stalls, and then 2 sinks per male and female here to help support all those functions. So my guess is, just knowing what storage is like, it's not enough of everything you want to store here. But it could be. We could continue to look for places to add storage, maybe reduce the meeting rooms a little bit, but we'd sure love you to think about cleaning out as we go to make this move so that everything that moves into the new building is what you need long term. Yes? They still exist right here. Yeah. So his question was, are we doing anything with the original restrooms? Yes, but they're going to stay where they're at, and if all goes well, we would like to have new finishes, update the finishes and the fixtures, plumbing fixtures and things, if the budgeting allows. That's a great one. Once the new set is online, we could wait until a future summer renovation or something and do those restrooms. But right now, it is on the list as something we want to do now. Yes? The question is, will this new parish hall be the lunchroom for the school? Is the school cook in the room? Okay, so the school cook would very much like to, the current school cook would very much like to stay in the existing kitchen for the rest of her career. Personally, I think that's awesome. You know, finish out the years you've served here, that's great. The new kitchen is planned to be able to be the school kitchen. The key here is we take PE, the number of sections of PE we can offer is reduced at this school because we use the gym for lunch. So the goal would be is that the school lunch would move to the new Parish Center space. Please. Okay, let me try to recap, and then you give me thumbs up or down if I get all of her points. So the question is, and we run into this everywhere, is that we want this room to be everything for every use possible. So it'd be great if school can use it, and it helps their schedule, but I want to also then have my wedding reception here. and use the kitchen, but it's also the school teacher or the school's cook's kitchen, and it's the Knights of Columbus kitchen, which in the end is the real issue because they don't ever clean up after themselves. And so that creates all of these problems where everybody's trying to use this space and getting it all clean and ready for the next one. And it's never going to be perfectly clean. You know, it's nor's our home, but when we invite 350 people over, we want it to be, you know, to a certain level. So the tables, are they clean? Are they, these would be folding tables, not fold out of the wall tables like we have in the gym today. Do we try to have a set of tables that are guest tables and a set of tables that are school tables? You know, we haven't gone to that level. The one thing we've talked about is that school lunch might remain on rectangular tables, but then we would also have a portion of the tables to be able to be round, which are much better for receptions and, and parish events. So we might have some that are only, some round tables that are only used for parish events, and then the rectangles could be school. But I think that it's a good question, being, is this a church space or is it a school space? Or is it both? And can we get along and have it be both? Most places don't get to choose. Most parishes in Lincoln don't get to have a full school lunchroom and a parish hall. We just don't have the space. So I think there are ways that we can try to make the fixtures capable to be able to be used for one function or the other. But right now, this is imagined to be a shared space that both the school and the parish would use. And then I think it's rules and structure we'd have to set into place to make sure it could be used otherwise. I can tell you that I don't believe you will ever make money on hosting wedding receptions. I think it's a great service to be able to be offered, but in the end, the amount it takes to clean and prepare and clean up afterwards, I would expect it won't. Don't go into it imagining it being a great cash flow, but it's just a great service, an opportunity to be able to share to families that would like it. How about there first? The question was, what are we doing for funeral lunches? The goal would be funeral lunches, go to the new parish hall. On that day, the students would have a cold or a sack lunch cycle that could either be served here, so they'd come up, grab their sack lunch, and go back down to their classrooms, or that day we could use the gymnasium as it originally was, as the school lunchroom on that day. So there would be some flexibility. We've talked about that the original kitchen would remain so that you had a secondary space for other events. But I think we can say no decision has been made exactly to that. Okay, her question was, when did we decide that we would be sharing that space with the school? As opposed to leaving school lunch down below in the gym and the existing kitchen, and then just allow this to be parish hall. Personally, that you won't use the parish hall as a parish most days of the week, daytime. As an architect, I would love to find a way to give you spaces that multiple groups can use so that it's just more, there's more efficiency. I get more use out of it. I do know especially in our parish, that the school lunch, that's hard. It's hard wear and tear on the space that we use. And so, there would need to be that commitment that, we're going to share the space so that it has, more windows, it has better lighting, it has a better fully functioning kitchen. That would be a really great benefit to the school. So far at the committee level, the discussion has been, not to make light of it, but we can get along and it could be a shared use. I think that's still yet to be determined, but it is a benefit to the school schedule if we can use the gym throughout the day for all of the class periods and have lunch elsewhere. Is that fair? It's true. Yeah, I don't know. So the question being, there is a lot of wear and tear. Sadly, I'm thrilled that there's wear and tear. That you've got this many students on campus, going to school, whatever the final number is, I'm thrilled that there's wear and tear because that means we're actually using the building. It will be a more robust building than the current parish hall is. We're gonna, the materials, the finishes will be set to sort of handle that, that wear and tear, but there is wear and tear.
So is this going to be a city decision, or is this going to be voted on by the whole church?
Her question is, and I'm not going to answer it, but her question is this going to be a decision by committee, or is this going to be a vote of the parish? We'll get back to you on that. I don't know. The question was the existing social hall kitchen, that area is being imagined as a science STEM classroom, and at least not the exact fixtures in that room, but all of the plumbing in that room could support a science classroom. What's that? There's no funding of that in this right now. Thank you, Mike. Yeah. So the question was, could we use folding wall systems to allow us to break the larger rooms down into smaller rooms? And the answer is yes. The plan here is this used to be 3 separate rooms. We've come back and taken the hard walls out of it. And then there would be a folding partition in the middle of that red box so that it could become 1 large class meeting room or 2 smaller. And we've looked at how the parish hall space could also be subdivided in that manner. Good idea, and the goal being to create the space as usable as possible. Yes?
I just have a question. I can't tell. How many outside exits are there to the facility?
So her question is, how many outside exits would we have? And so the answer is 3. Actually 4, sorry. Here, directly to the parking lot, so that would... You're going to jump up there? You got that vertical reach? Watch this. Okay, so there's the first one. Right out this set of doors. And then as you come down Vine Street, there's a second one that will go directly to the north here. The fourth and the main entrance and exit on the corner. And then the entrance that really becomes access from out this set of doors if we were leaving from Mass, or from the school would use this set. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 clear on the east side. Not really. That you would deliver in from the north side. So you would not deliver directly into the kitchen. You would deliver into the hall or along the walkway in this plan right now. I'll stick around afterwards, just for the sake of all of your schedules. I'll stick around afterwards and field more questions, but we just had a couple more slides to show you. So the idea of what the outside could be, this wall in the face of that church is just one material all the way up and down. Not a lot of window, not a lot of visual connection to what's on the inside. So we love the idea of being able to bring these meeting rooms, bring this social hall out to Vine Street visually, so that people could see the excitement about what's going on inside. So signage on the corner, that's roughly where the existing sign is today. We're building out to that. Right behind that would be the Adoration Chapel. And then the meeting rooms, entrances here and here. So bringing around some of the same design of the big glue laminated beam over the entryways like we have on the existing building, bringing that around, bringing the same finish around, so that it could blend with the campus, but give a new face out towards Vine Street. You want me to grab this one, Mike? So next steps, we're having meetings with the city right now, because you have a whole series of construction decisions that have been made in all of the original phases that our new phase will need to take into account. We'll be then finalizing the drawings, having the contractor and the construction manager, Brester Construction, is going to start doing a cost estimate now on that initial sketch so that we have a starting point. And then the input that we receive from these meetings, as well as future design presentations, that will all get layered into the final designs. And then we will go out to bid for all of the subcontractors. We will go for building permit, and then we'll start planning a groundbreaking from there. So the summer, right now, if we kept on the current pace, summer of '26 would allow that possibility to start building. Okay, Mike's question was our $3 to $3.3 million potential budget, could we get it all done? We invited 3 contractors to come interview for the project. Each of them did their own internal cost estimate on the initial plan and elevation, and they all felt like it was possible to get everything that we've shown in that plan: social hall, meeting room, adoration chapel, bathrooms, kitchen, that all could be done within that $3 to $3.3 million estimate. And so, question just to confirm, that gets us the kitchen space, but that did not include the roughly $100,000 to $110,000 that it takes to outfit the kitchen. So the coolers, the dishwasher, the stove. We would have the ductwork for the hood, but probably not the hood and the Ansel system. That $100,000 to $120,000 would be a future effort. Right? So one other note, a couple of the contractors mentioned that we talked about breaking the building into a couple pieces, just building the social hall now, but know where we'd want to put the meeting rooms and that adoration chapel at a later date. and they all suggested somewhere between $200,000 to $400,000 savings if we could do those pieces now, for multiple reasons. One of which is we're seeing, you're living 3 to 5% inflation. In the construction world, we're living 5 to 10% inflation on construction materials. And so going earlier is better than waiting from a budget standpoint, as well as if they can build it while they're here, they don't have to come back. And there is a savings in that onboarding and staging of the work. If they can, we would like them to do as much as we can afford to have them do while they're here, because there won't be another cheaper time to do it. Does that take care? Yes.
I want to go back to that slide where you have that secure area to show people how that can be secured for people from the parish and also from the school.
Okay, Mr. Clinch's question was, show me how it's secure. And we will put together diagrams to help better show that in the future. But Todd, can you? So if I'm leaving church to come to a social event, I'm coming through the old hallway, I'm coming down the ramp, and yep. I think I can probably do it. So if during church event, school is in play, school is all locked down, these doors would be locked. I'm going to come out of the funeral, I'm going to come down the hall, and I'm just going to go in the social hall. I'm going to choose to leave. I can come back the same way. I could come out and walk up the walk that is really the entrance to the school. I could exit off the north side. So when these doors are locked, that is all parish. Fully functioning is all parish space. Now it's a school day, and we've made the decision that school could use that space for lunch. I'm going to lock this set of doors, and I'm going to lock this set of doors, and somebody that's in the church can still come out, use the restroom. They can come down the hall by the sacristy, come out that exit, go down the hallway to the offices, and students are here but not having access to the church. And then up at the top, see if this will work. This set of doors would be locked as well. So the school has their lunch space, has their restrooms, has their fire exits that are required, the 2. And all of this could remain being used as church. So adoration could be going on. We could have this room subdivided, and we could have meetings going on in that space. This remains all school, and all parish, and this then could be all school by locking this set of doors and that set of doors there. So then if we were, now it's nighttime, it's not a school day. We're just, and the church, the offices, all of this is locked down. We can put a key fob on this door. So right off the parking lot, I could come in this door, access the chapel, its restroom, and have a second exit out on this side. So this corner right now, we've moved this entrance around a little bit, but from a fire code standpoint, we'd like to leave this corner for that 24/7 access. We could still lock the meeting room spaces so that if you were an all-night adorer, you wouldn't have to worry about somebody maybe being in those rooms. But this corner then would allow us that 24/7 access when the rest of the campus is locked down. So the question was, where is the kitchen best placed due to trash, and where are we going to put dumpsters? So we'll work back from dumpsters. Dumpsters will have to go to the north side. Will be on the north side. Yeah, and so we'll have an enclosure of some sorts, but in the end, they're ugly, they're a mess, and it's a hard fact. So how that works into this parking area, we haven't gotten there yet, but we know that dumpsters would go that way. So his second question is, why not move the kitchen up here so that it's close to allow food to get in and out, to allow trash to get in and out? Totally legitimate idea, and one what we've been considering. What didn't go in the first sketch because we were trying to keep the ability for that school lunch during a funeral lunch to have, to have staff have access to the kitchen, school staff to have access to the kitchen. But I would say it's still on the list. I know that it's part of another concept we're working on too. Agreed. And his follow-up comment was, we just want to have a good plan of how you're dealing with trash, and we agree. Okay, I'll stick around. So if this all campaign goes well, we have the summer groundbreaking. We're looking about 12 to 14 months for construction. So that gets us through then the 27 timeline, and then, and I think we can probably be less than 18. But if we just assumed worst case, depending on the seasons and all of that and the bidding, we're somewhere between a year and 2 years to build, but most likely closer to 1 year. Okay, I'm going to pass it back to Father. I'll stay, Mike will stay, Todd will stay. Bring questions this way if you don't mind. That way everybody doesn't have to stay. But thank you so much for the time that you spent and all of the input. Mike?
Before Father closes us out with prayer, we did want to thank you all for being here. We really appreciate your input. This is still preliminary designs. So your input will be taken into account, and we appreciate that. And there's going to be more to come. We're going to do more of these to make sure you guys know what's going on, that we're sharing that information as it comes up. We do want to invite you guys. We do have cookies in the back. Okay, I'll be right with you. Hold on a second. We'll have cookies in the back afterwards, and we will have folks back there as well to help answer questions. So please look for folks back there, and we can help answer questions as well. Yes, question back. You're here, right? How are we getting people's input into the project? So we've already done multiple parish surveys. I think we showed what we've already done. We've already had town halls. That's where we have today to get input. As we work through the designs and what the requirements are from the city and what we're able to do from a budget perspective, because that's a big thing right now. If we take this out for an estimate and our contractor says, hey, it's going to cost $4 million, we're going to have to scale back. So we're still working on how far can we go, and we've been providing that information out to the parish in regular updates that we put on the bulletin and the mailing, as well as on the website. But we plan to have more of these. We plan, as we work through the phases of the design, between now and next summer, that we will continue to bring this stuff forward and ask for input. What's that? Done deal. What are the questions that you have? I know. I'm just trying to ask what her questions are because she seems like she's asking that her questions weren't getting answered.
For him, we never got those answers from him. We never saw any kind of anything that the parish put out saying, these are all the questions that were asked during this first phase. Here are the answers to those questions. I think people just I don't feel like our voice was heard. I don't know if other people feel like their voices were not heard. I don't know how else to express it, except it feels like even when the guy talked to us, it was already a done deal. And I don't feel like we're really getting feedback. We're really getting a chance to say yes or no, or this is smart, this is not smart.
No, we appreciate that.
I'm heading towards your pew. And so I want to know all of the questions that you did ask. We apologize that if they got lost, and it does happen at times, but do know that this is a blank sheet of paper to record your ideas, and the images that we have up here, it's not a done deal. We don't, but we'll have a system that either uses the school office or the kind of the little reception desk where you could write questions later, but we will have a system for you to be able to provide your thoughts, and I'll stay as long, but I would love to hear what got lost so that we can make sure that doesn't continue.
So we did, at the beginning of the campaign, we did engage with church development out of Kansas City. I will say we were, honestly, less than impressed with how they engaged with our parish and how they engaged with us, and really their lack of engagement and how that's gone. So we've actually disengaged with them. That's why you see us. This is really the parish now bringing this forward, trying to listen and see what we want to do with this project as we go forward with our design phases. So we want to hear those questions. We will be sending all these slides out. We're going to send out the video from today. We're going to send out the questions that we heard, the answers to those. We're going to give you a way to ask questions back. So you'll be able to reply to that email. We'll give you some other means as well to ask questions. We want to hear from you, and we want to respond. So I don't know, Father, if you want to say anything as well.
The history of it is just that it's been on our dream list for a long time to have a space that we could use and to kind of improve the opportunity for people to be part of our parish family in ways that we want them to be. That we've grown out of our present social hall. I don't think there's anything you can do except say, yeah, that means we got to do something. But we want to hear from as many people as want to be heard. It's their parish, but the decision-making isn't in stone. This is just where we are to date. As I said when we began, this is all we know for now, and we're going to try to put together the best plan we can in response to as many voices as want to speak, and try to do it together in a unified way. Nothing is in stone. I don't have a contract. We're not signing anything. We're just gathering this information and rolling it out back to the parish from when we did our campaign 3 years ago and began collecting money for this road ahead. Exactly what it'll look like, I don't know. How much will it cost? I do not know. How will it exactly get used? I don't know. I can't know. But we'd like to hear, again, one more time, from anyone that'd like to have us here. Thus the surveys that we've done and the house, the open house kind of town hall meeting thing that we've done several times now, and we're going to continue to do. So, not in stone. Everybody okay with that? Yeah, I'm retiring, so It'll be all right. Page 74. Please do catch us afterwards with a question or comment that you'd like us to hear. Page 74. Kind of an interesting day that we happened to land on to have a meeting about a building. And Paul explains, this is like a 45 AD, page 74, Paul's letter to the Corinthians. They don't have a church, they don't have a building, they don't have a school, they don't have a social hall or a kitchen. So this is what he says about what it is to be a Catholic. Ready? We're going to read this together. Second reading for today, page 74. Brothers and sisters, you are God's building, according to the grace of God given to you. Like a wise master builder, I laid a foundation, and another is building upon it. Each one must be careful how he builds upon it, for no one can lay a foundation other than the one that is there, namely Jesus Christ. Do you not know that you are the temple of God, that the Spirit of God dwells in you? If anyone destroys God's temple, God will destroy that person. The temple of God that you are is holy. St. John the Apostle, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, thank you for your time.